Quarterbacks is where we once again begin this deep dive, and we deep dive into this position with Matt Cassel and Phil Perry. Cassel, I'm going to start with you. I know that you, like many of us, thought that Cam Newton, at least to start the season, would be the starter for the Patriots. What was your reaction when you heard that he was cut today?
Oh, I was so surprised and shocked because I also knew that I was going to have to bow down to Tommy Curran for a little bit and take I can hear him yelling in the background. I know it. I mean, are you kidding me? Tommy Curran was right. I was wrong. But look, I was surprised, but I wasn't shocked because you're never shocked with anything that Bill Belichick does. But at the same time, I was in the belief that he was going to be the starter week one. But look, the fact of the matter is Mac Jones went out there, outperformed him, did all the things that he needed to do to put himself in this position, and they finally made that decision, which was probably a tough decision, but they understand what they're getting with Mac Jones, and they're ready to move on and go with Mac Jones for the season.
Phil, when you look at how they got to this decision, do you think it was more about Mac or more about Cam?
I think it was more about Mac. Mac Jones is ready. You invested a first-round pick on him, number 15 overall. He's a guy that runs the kind of offense that you want to run. He's accurate. He seems to be a quick decision maker. We'll see how things work for him once the bullets are quote-unquote live and the speed of the game is ratcheted up to regular season level. But once Mac Jones was ready, it really does not make much sense to keep him on the bench. It's a progress-stopping sort of situation had Cam Newton been gone to as the number one quarterback. And yeah, of course, what Cam Newton does factors in. There's no doubt about it. He didn't do enough this summer to hold on to his job. But if you're just evaluating the guy that you just invested a number one overall pick in Mac Jones, the guy who is the future of your offense, and you deem him to be ready, why wait?
Matt, would there have been any reason to wait? When you think about starting a rookie quarterback from start to finish in now a 17-game season, a guy who's, by the way, never played that many games in his career before, what's your biggest concern?
Well, I think it's the experience factor. And while we watched him in preseason absolutely dominate, which he really did dominate the preseason game, I've said this before, you have to take it with a grain of salt. He's going to get up against 2s, 3s, 4s. And then when you get to that first game in this regular season against Miami, the bullets are going to be flying. Brian Flores is going to have some definite disguises for him, going to try to confuse him. So there's a growth that's going to have to take place early in this season, whether it's against the Miami Dolphins or against the Jets with Robert Saleh on that defense. And then it gets real difficult as you get to games 3 and 4 versus the Saints and the Bucs as well. So you're going to have to take the good with the bad early on. Hopefully what they can do is get him some easy completions, get him settled in, whether it's screens, whether it's pocket movement stuff, changing the land point. But the best thing that this offense can do for Mac Jones early on is to have that great run game that they do with that great offensive line and protect him.
Did Bill waste at the end of the day? It might feel to some, and I know this is a question, did he waste some guys' time? I look at Mac Jones, Matt, needing to get ready and thinking, wow, he didn't get a lot of live action with the first team. And maybe Cam Newton didn't give enough time to prove himself. What do you say to those questions? Did Mac get enough time with the ones, and did Cam get enough time to really prove himself?
Well, that's always a great question that you come up with anytime you're having a quarterback battle, right? Because you're splitting reps. One guy is not getting a majority of those reps. So the chemistry that you have with the ones and being the voice in the huddle with the big offensive linemen and the running backs and getting the different looks, you don't get as many of those reps because you have to split reps. So sometimes it's unfair to each, but when you do get those reps, you got to take advantage of it. And as we've all heard about the practice last week, when he did get that opportunity to step in with the ones, he was able to go out there, dominate, and prove that he's capable of running this offense at a high level. And I think that must have been the deciding factor in why they decided to go with Mac Jones and not Cam Newton.
I think this was a quarterback competition all the way through Sunday. I think the reason Cam Newton got the first team reps on Sunday against the Giants was because Bill Belichick wanted to give him a shot. He wanted this competition to be as even as Bill Belichick could have set this thing up to be. And Mac Jones got all the first-team reps early in the week. He got all the first-team reps against the Giants Wednesday. They split first-team opportunities on Thursday. Sunday, it was Cam Newton's turn to be the lone guy to get those first-team reps. I think Bill Belichick did not make his decision until after the game Sunday, and that's why we saw him play it the way he did.
All right. Interesting stuff, guys. Thanks very much. So when we think about why Cam was exactly cut, some have suggested it may have been his decision after losing the starting job. Boston Sports Journal's Greg Bedard shot that down today on Felger and Mass.
From my reporting, I don't believe that Cam Newton was given the option to stay and he turned it down or said, I don't want to be part of that.
Right.
I think the Patriots made a decision to move on, that probably Cam Newton didn't fit schematically or, physically into what they want to do at the quarterback position.
Well, former Patriots cornerback Asante Samuel, who did not leave on the best of terms, reacting to Bill Belichick cutting Cam. Cold-blooded, he wrote, is an understatement. But without Brady, he's just another coach, in my opinion. Sick burn. We'll leave just another coach for another day, but let's bring in Cam supporter Amina Smith and Matt Cassel to discuss if Bill Belichick will regret it. Amina, do you think a couple weeks from now Bill Belichick is going to be looking at himself in the mirror and saying, oh, I made a mistake here?
Absolutely not. I don't think that Bill Belichick will regret this decision. However, what my mind turns to is, if Mac Jones was to go out there and being the starting quarterback and Cam Newton is QB number 2, what would that dynamic have been like in that quarterback's room? We heard Cam Newton get on Brandon Marshall's podcast, just recently and talk about the fact that, hey, he doesn't believe that there are 32 quarterbacks in this league that are better than him. When he was asked about retiring, he said, hey, I don't want to go out like that. I have too much pride for it. So we know that Cam Newton, in his mind, he believes that he's QB number 1. And this gives him the opportunity to feel it out, see if he is QB number 1 somewhere in this league. But when you take a look at it being a mistake, I don't think it's a mistake on Bill Belichick's part. He did what's best for the team.
Matt, Cam was obviously well-liked in the locker room and well-respected around football. What kind of taste does this leave in the mouths of some of the guys in that locker room? Could it be difficult for Mac Jones to come in and win some of those Cam friends over?
Look, at the end of the day, this is a business, and this is what we signed up for, and we all understand it as players and as professionals that at any given point, your name might get called. And you know what? There's points in my career where I was released once or twice, and while you don't expect it and you have those relationships with those guys or the guys that are friends with you get released, you know that this is part of the business, and it's a big boy business, and you have to understand it. So the guys also understand that if they don't win, then their job security is on the line as well. They're going to be looking for replacements for those guys. So they understand this is part of the business, and it's unfortunate, and guys are liked all the time. But more often than not, there's guys that you lose every single year that you wish that you had there because of their leadership and everything else. But I don't think it's going to put any separation in terms of the locker room or anything as they move forward.
Yes, lots of very nice people out there aren't always the best for the job. That's just how the world works. Well, Pro Football Network's Adam Beasley providing more reasons why maybe Cam was cut. He writes, there wasn't just one reason that Cam Newton is gone. It was a combination of at least 3. I'm told Mac Jones's emergence, Newton's vaccination stance, which caused a bit of a stir behind the scenes, and Cam's uninspiring performance this summer. Former Patriot linebacker and NBC Sports Boston Ted Johnson doubling down on the vaccine explanation. Ted tweeting, far and away, biggest reason Cam Newton was cut today is because he was unvaccinated. If he was vaccinated, he's the starter week 1. BB has to feel some embarrassment or disappointment that Cam let him down because he has never supported so unconditionally a player like he has with Cam. Matt, do you really think that Cam Newton's misunderstanding of COVID-19 protocols, which, by the way, the Patriots seem to explain away, and his vaccination status could actually play into whether or not he won the starting job?
I don't think whether or not he was vaccinated, played a role in him getting cut. But I should take that back. It definitely played a role because he missed practice last week because of the different vaccinated protocol and not following everything that they needed to do in order to get him into practice. So it definitely played a role because it gave Mac Jones an opportunity to go out there and show what he could do during practice, which basically in the evaluation process of things let Josh McDaniels and Bill Belichick really see him operate with those ones and ultimately probably led to the decision that's being made. But at the end of the day, I don't think him being unvaccinated really came down with the decision to go with Mac Jones or not.
Yeah, I totally agree with you right there. I do feel like Mac Jones, actually, Cam Newton not being vaccinated did have something to do with him not being on this team. Just because, you come into this season, that the NFL and the NFLPA, they tried to meet in the middle and give players the option whether or not they want to be vaccinated or not get the vaccine for this upcoming season. However, you knew that going into this season, that would put you at a competitive disadvantage, especially if you're fighting for a starting role and you're maybe trying to make a team. Like, this is something that's going to work against you in the long run. So when you talk about it, whether or not it's fair or not, if it played a part, I definitely think it played a part in this Cam Newton situation.
Yeah, I think it's hard to say that it didn't, because I think Bill Belichick knows that if your QB1 is unvaccinated and contracts COVID, it could have a trickle-down effect on the rest of the locker room, but more importantly, on that entire quarterback's room. All right, after Mac Jones, the Patriots quarterback room is kind of thin. Brian Hoyer has lost his last 11 starts, and Jarrett Stidham is going to start the season on the PUP list. Let's bring Curran back in along with Matt Cassel. I mean, Curran, I know we're going to get sort of to the minutia of the Hoyer getting cut today. It's a little more complicated than that, but let's just say let's say Hoyer comes back. You got Hoyer, and you have a surgically repaired Jarrett Stidham. Is that enough, in your opinion, Curran, to back up Mac Jones, or do the Patriots need to go out and find another backup quarterback?
It would be the same way it's enough duct tape to cover up a leaky pipe for a day or two, but you want to look long-term on fixing that. And I don't know if the long-term fix is available or if you can upgrade it. So you're going to be checking that tape all the time, Matt.
Yeah, Tom, I have to agree with you. I mean, they're going to definitely be looking at all their options out there right now and what's going to become available even after the cuts if they can upgrade that position. But the one thing that Hoyer does bring to this offensive unit is that he's been in the system. He can be a great mentor. He's willing to do it. There's no ego involved. And so that's a benefit to Mac Jones when you have somebody in your corner that knows the system so well and can continuously help you out if he returns on the team. And then, again, we don't know much about where Jarrett Stidham is at this point, but if he comes back from PUP, he could be another guy that factors in some capacity.
I'll say this about Hoyer too, and Matt, I'm sure you might agree, is he really got dropped a dirty bomb in his lap last year with the Kansas City game. I mean, Cam comes up positive on a Friday, and the game got jerked around. He never had an opportunity to prepare, and he played like it. He played badly. But I don't think that that's fully representative of where he is as a player, even now. So to me, it's not ideal, but don't go looking at that Kansas City game as being, oh, well, he can't play anymore, period. That's all I'd want to say on that.
Yeah, well, speaking of backups, guys, like the minute it was announced that Cam Newton was gone, this story resurfaced. Could Jimmy Garoppolo be a possibility? Jimmy survived cut day, but Pro Football Talk's Mike Florio says it's not a lock that Jimmy G is safe. The decision of the Patriots to abruptly cut Cam Newton serves as a reminder that no matter what the 49ers have said, they could still cut Jimmy Garoppolo and his $24.1 million base salary before Week 1. Curran, come on. Jimmy G's return is not dead yet? Is that really a possibility?
No, I don't think it's a possibility at all, because it'd be very expensive. You'd have to convince him to be the backup to Mac Jones. And quite honestly, given where Mac Jones is right now compared to where Jimmy Garoppolo was at the end of his first training camp and really into his second year, Mac Jones might be better.